go. Be like, oh, hi, I didn't see you there. That's how we should start everything.
I ran with the direction of the Billie Jean drums, and for the verses, I was like, okay, so just start playing really simple, really just like, you know, boots and cats kind of thing, because like you say, the guitar riff has a little bit of a pickup, and we want to make damn sure everybody knows where the 2 and the 4 is, and just basically don't overcomplicate things.
When the idea for this song came around, we were calling it Octopus because the way the riff plays just makes me think of how an octopus looks when it's moving in the water, like
The history of Cowboys and Cardigans has always been animal names, and my whole motivation for writing that song was also an octopus, where that's why it's all blinky blinky, because I was trying to get the idea of 8 arms following along behind you.
One thing that I remember Bonham saying about Zeppelin, he was saying how he would always follow Jimmy, and that's how he'd come up with a lot of the parts. And to me, subconsciously, it just made sense to do that. The vision I got, or the sonic landscape that I was seeing when I was playing, was like a forest with very tall trees, maybe on the West Coast somewhere. I wanted to create the effect, like, what would it sound like, or what would it feel like if suddenly one or like 10 of those trees just toppled over at once, and like capture that moment. I just feel like you're moving even when you're sitting still listening to the song.
Well, yeah, because Jamie called it Octopus. Like I said, I was like, okay, I've got to somehow create the idea of 8 tentacles, right? So I wanted it to feel like slippery. I wanted to feel like a lot of things happening at once.
Slippery,
I wanted like the equivalent of like, you know, when an octopus fucking shoots out or whatever. I'm going the wrong direction, whatever they do. I wanted to, I was trying to get that, right? But you know, there's a nuance to it. There's more than one part to it.
That's the joy of trying to like explain something with sound.
Well, that's it. I was trying to sound like an octopus. I didn't really think it through much. And again, as Jamie said, the wraparound thing, I'm like, I heard right away that like I have to put my emphasis in a slightly different place than you might in like, this was not like a 2/4 kind of song. So I wrote around that. Especially listening to this song develop, what did you visualize it? Because you talk about the Danko Jones influence, which I totally hear. But when we listen to the first like 2 or 3 runs at this, it feels way more funky, I guess. So it's just like my first visualization of this, especially the first few times we play it where we're playing a lot slower, is I pictured like a funk tune.
And then when it got to the guitar solo, I wanted to do something that was kind of frippish. I just wanted to do something that was not predictable.
That ties in with the Danko Jones thing. Like, it's just meat and potatoes rock and roll. So I was like, well, if we're going to do this, we better do it right. So I don't want to get in the way. And just the little snippets, little, you know, hassles here and there, but nothing too serious, I think, in terms of drum fills.
What's up, Bailey? We wanted to bring you in to get the technical genius musician perspective on our music, since we've written so many songs together. You've always been the guy that has added that edge, that precision, the laser sharp focus, to kind of help me out with my finger painting that I do. Give me your first impression of our first new release as Cowboys and Cardigans.
The first time I heard it, I guess two things came to mind. It immediately sounds like a song that Jamie Reaume wrote, with that intro guitar lick, the like it has Jamie all over it. And I've heard you noodle around, and I've heard parts come out of your guitar that sound like that a lot. Mm-hmm. The other thing I think is when I hear what Mike is playing and when I hear what Charlie's playing, it almost reminded me of like a heavy metal B-52s. That's immediately where my head goes, which is a weird place for it to go. But like it's because it has like, and it may just be more like in the fact that, Charlie's doing the hats on the offbeat, and he's kind of doing that groove to it or something. And it's also in the bass line that Mike is playing. It reminded me of, I don't know if it's like Rock Lobster or something. Like, there's just something in the B-52s that came out in that. The solo fascinates me. I'm dying to know whether you wrote that or whether just something came out.
We captured all the rehearsals for the, whatever I said, it was like 7 months that we wrote for.
Yeah.
And the dun 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 that came out in one of them. And I heard that and I was like, I just found my door. I wanted to do something very unpredictable for the solo. The whole genesis of the riff came simply like the night of bringing home the Boss super octave pedal.
Okay.
First thing that came out.
That makes sense. And I think you've done something similar with Tarantula, right? Like, didn't Tarantula kind of have a similar vibe about it as well, where when you look at your hand, you're like, it's almost like a spider crawling across my fretboard. Yeah, there's some beef coming from that. It's actually one of the things I really love about the solo is you can hear that octave in there. Like, it has that MXR blue box vibe about it from the 70s, like when you think of like Fool in the Rain and shit like that. Like that
yeah, that's a great reference. Actually, it is going into the color box.
I was gonna say the super octave by itself, I don't believe has a fuzz stage in it, right? Like, it's just an octave.
Yeah, so those things work really well together. Super octave going into the color box for the intro, for the verse, all that like sliding up and harmonic just nonsense. That came out of rehearsal too. I was like, oh my God, that sounds so weird. And I can just do that and sing instead of playing a riff. And so it's got that in and out kind of thing.
It's actually a great piece of dynamics, right? Because it is letting something drop out for the vocals to take over for the guitar, and it's kind of like trading spots, right? And that, to me, that I think if you kept the riff going, it may have been a little too much. I like the fact that it drops out there. Yeah,
it really let Mike's bass line shine through. And I mean, when Mike and Charlie play together, you don't need guitar necessarily.
Nothing sounds sour, but at the same time, there's enough of it that sounds outside that it's interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll say there are points when it's not in key, but that is not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. When you talk about playing outside, there's advantages to that. And I think the way that you've done it here is that you're playing outside in the right spots. And then when you need to play inside, you go back in. Like, it's, they talk about, on ones and two, like on the beat, you want to be inside, but if you're outside, it's okay. But you can, logically, in my mind, you can extend that to say, if you're in a 4-bar phrase, if the first bar is in key and the next 3 are out, as long as you get back for the next first bar, you're good. And I think that's kind of what you did here, right? Is you stayed inside, then you went, okay, I'm going to go for a walk through the woods, and then I'm going to come back home and be home again, right? And to me, there's nothing wrong with that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds great. Like, and it sounds energetic and it sounds alive. It doesn't sound like it's in a grid. It doesn't sound quantized. It doesn't sound any of that stuff. It sounds like three guys in a room playing exactly like what I expect Cowboys and Cardigans to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, what I'll say is you can hear the difference in the musicians, of course. Like, you know, it's a different drummer and a different bass player, and you can tell. And I don't mean to, you know, I'm not saying that to slight the other guys, but the other guys had a different groove and a different perspective on how these tunes would be played. And Mike and Charlie have a different perspective as well. And you can hear it and you can feel it, and you can tell. In my mind, it's a bit of a step up, right? But this is a different thing now, and a different thing that I really like. You know, obviously I'm a big fan of Mike's. We've been playing together for, well, shit, are we almost on 20 years now? It's 15 probably. Like, this sounds like Cowboys and Cardigans, except maybe ramped up a little bit, a little more energy, a little more technique, a little more everything.
So it was my story about the butcher shop, because I did not realize that it inspired that whole song. I know the story exactly. The place where we go, our butcher, he's a total fucking two-word prick to me, but every time Sophie's in, he fucking blathers away, and I'm like, yeah, they're really good to her at the butcher shop.
Yes, there it is. There it is. Yeah, they love her walk at the butcher shop. Baby, come on. What did you think about working with Brett Humber for the recording at Sound Foundry Studios in lovely, peaceful New California / Kingsville?
Oh, it was a great experience, man. I really enjoyed it. It was, you know, it was a small room, and we really filled it up nicely with our sound. It's exactly what we were going for in terms of recreating the rehearsal space. Because it always sucks when you walk into a studio and you got to feel out the room all over again. I didn't feel like there was too much of that going on. The best part about working with him was that he was listening to us. So we came in with a very strong vision. We're like, well, we want to record off the floor, and you know, we want it really bare bones. Like, don't pretty it up, no melodyne, like just like the old days, you know, like a throwback garage band style recording.
He was awesome. He understood, and he was actually quite impressed with the board and the gear.
Brett was great, and it's exactly what Charlie said. He left us to our own devices, and you know, tried his best to record the room, and did so. Sounds great. It doesn't sound like it's live, which actually really surprises me.
They let it rock out the butcher shop, baby, come on. You lick off all the honey, call me now, what you waiting for? Give me some more, give me some more. You gotta push some lines, you gotta ride it for him.
That is nice. I'll agree with that. And the other thing is worthy to add here is that we came in pretty ambitiously. I think we had, what was it, 8 songs in 2 days, basically 2.5 days, let's say. But it felt like 2 days just because it, you know, between setup and tear down and getting the drum tones. Drummers, leave it to the drummers to chew up all the time.
It's the the part that runs, like, that is like the core of that song. It's like you said, it's a wraparound line, which is why I liked it so much, because that's the shit I live for. It feels like it starts not at the beginning of the bar. And that was my motivation for how I played it, was, you know, okay, then I'm going to make it sound like we're falling off a cliff behind it.
The butcher sounds bulletproof.
It was the first thing that we sent to Marty, and within 3 weeks, he sent us a track. The first mix he sent us, we kept, and that is what's in the video.
They love to walk out the butcher shop, baby, come on. Forget the smoking on our meals, baby, give me some more. We dropping bombs on Decepticons to finish the war. Shaky, 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 in and out with your feet on the floor. Give me some more, give me some more. You gotta push some out,
didn't know you could verb Robert Fripp. Well done.
Frippish. Frippish.
I love it. I love it. Enjoy your time. Be safe out there. Love you guys.
Love you,
Well,
Talk
man.
soon.
See you soon.